The crypto market absolutely exploded today. Well, most of it anyway. Here's the thing though, Bitcoin's been kind of sitting this one out. It's hanging around $119,544, which is barely up 1% in the last day. But check out Ethereum. Now that's where the action is. Ethereum just shot up 8.5% in 24 hours. And this is huge because historically, when ETH starts going crazy like this, that's when alt season really kicks off. We're talking $4,565 right now. It actually hit over $4,600 earlier today, which is the highest we've seen in years. The all-time high sits at $4,861, so we're getting pretty close to that territory. When this thing really takes off, the rest of the market's going to follow. That's just how it works. And honestly, that's what gets me pumped about this whole situation. Sure, I've got some ETH, but more importantly, I know what this means for XRP and all my other holdings. The total market cap just crossed $4 trillion, and I'm telling you right now, that number is going way higher before this cycle wraps up. And by the way, we're going to spend basically this entire video diving deep into XRP specifically. What you're about to see is pretty wild. Literally every analyst I follow is saying XRP is set up perfectly for another massive run. Now, if you've been hanging around my channel for a while, you know exactly why this matters so much. When all these analysts, and I'm talking about the ones with solid track records that I actually pay attention to, when they all start saying the same thing, it almost always plays out exactly like they predict. Sure, sometimes crazy stuff happens and they're wrong, but honestly, the vast majority of the time when you've got this kind of consensus from credible people, they nail it. And right now, I'm going to show you tons of examples of analysts who are all expecting XRP to absolutely take off. And we're talking soon, not months from now. But hey, before we get into all that, I got to throw out the usual disclaimer. I'm not some finance guy with fancy credentials or anything. Nothing I'm saying here is financial advice, and you definitely shouldn't make any buy or sell decisions based on what I'm telling you. Okay, so right now, as I'm filming this, XRP is chilling at $3.26. We actually touched $3.29 earlier today, which was only a few hours ago. But honestly, I wouldn't get too cozy with these numbers because I have a feeling we're not going to be hanging out in this range much longer. What's really cool is seeing XRP ride the wave with everything else today. I'm just browsing through Live CoinWatch and it's like Christmas morning. Almost everything's up somewhere between 5% and 10%. And XRP is totally keeping pace. Gotta love when that happens. Now, there's actually a real reason behind all this craziness today. Here's the headline that started it all, straight from Investopedia. S&P 500 NASDAQ Composite closed at record highs as stocks surge after CPI report boosts rate cut hopes. And boom, that's exactly what sent crypto into overdrive too. The S&P 500 just blasted past 6,400 for the very first time in history, which is pretty insane when you think about it. Since both stocks and crypto are what we call risk-on assets, when traditional markets start partying, crypto usually crashes that party too. Even the Russell 2000 was going nuts with small cap stocks, which basically means people are feeling bold and taking on more risk. Right alongside all this, we're watching altcoins absolutely explode. The reason? That CPI inflation report came in just a tiny bit lower than everyone thought it would. So now the market's convinced we're getting a Fed rate cut. Look, whether you think that's amazing or terrible, doesn't change the fact that this is exactly how the market's responding right this second. And I'm talking split-second timing here. The moment that data hit, everything moved. The second that CPI news dropped, boom, instant spike across the board. Ethereum, XRP, you name it. Everything just shot up immediately. It's beautiful to watch. What's really fascinating is seeing these prices knowing we're absolutely nowhere close to euphoria yet. Let me show you a different angle on this. I usually pull up Google Trends for Bitcoin or XRP, but check this out. Here's search data for Coinbase going all the way back to July 2015. Look what happens every time we hit a cycle peak. People go absolutely nuts searching for Coinbase because they want to jump into crypto as fast as possible. They become total degenerates throwing money at anything with a green candle, basically. We're nowhere even close to those search levels. Now, you could argue that maybe people who are going to search for Coinbase already did it by now, right? Like maybe this cycle won't peak the same way as previous ones. I mean, maybe, but I'm honestly not buying that argument. Here's the thing. The actual percentage of people on this planet who own crypto is still pretty tiny. So I think we're definitely going to see that search volume explode again, whether it hits a new all-time high or not. Either way, This is just another data point showing we are definitely not in euphoria mode yet. Nothing's flashing warning signals that we're near the end of this cycle. But trust me, when we do get there, I'll be shouting it from the rooftops because you absolutely do not want to get caught with your pants down when that happens. So Dom just shared something pretty cool. Bitcoin dominance hit a fresh low. The bearish retest worked out exactly like we hoped. Now we're keeping our eyes on that 60% level to make sure it holds as resistance while altcoins keep doing their thing. Here's what makes this so exciting. Ethereum's been climbing while Bitcoin isn't even dropping. Bitcoin's actually been up a bit lately, but its dominance is shrinking. When Dom posted this, we were sitting at 59.62%, and it's been pretty much the same when I checked an hour or so ago. It's happening, guys. This is playing out just like we'd want it to based on what we've seen before. Honestly, it's fantastic news. I'm telling you, we're watching history repeat itself in the best way. If you're holding XRP and feeling bullish about what's coming next, this should have you pretty pumped. Dom just dropped an update on Ethereum dominance, and wow, this stuff is incredible. Ethereum literally doubled its market share in just 100 days after hitting that perfect 2020 support level. Not bad for a dead coin, huh? It's always the same story. People love calling something dead when it makes absolutely zero sense. Remember last year when everyone was writing off XRP? Now they're doing it with Ethereum. Sorry, but no, it's not dead, and that logic just doesn't add up. Check this out. We're looking at almost 14% dominance now. And here's where it gets interesting. Just imagine what happens when XRP really starts its run. The thought of XRP going for that #2 spot again, it's happened before, so it's definitely not crazy talk. And if you think about what that could mean for price, well, let's just say it gets exciting real quick. Look, I'm not here making wild price predictions because honestly, I have no clue exactly where XRP is headed. But here's what I will say. If we end up seeing double digits, I wouldn't be shocked at all, not even a little bit. So Dom's looking at the total 2 chart here. That's basically the entire crypto market minus Bitcoin. And he's saying we're right on the edge of something big happening. We're not quite there yet, but man, we are close. Total 2 still hasn't broken through either its July high or that 2021 peak. He's watching like a hawk for that confirmation signal. Now, sure, he's talking about the whole altcoin space here, not just XRP, though obviously XRP is a big part of that mix. But here's what's really wild. You're about to see a ton of respected chart analysts all talking about XRP and basically saying the same thing. It's ready to fly. These guys don't usually all sing from the same playbook, but right now they're totally in sync. And here's Dom's final XRP update. Pretty sure everything after this is pure XRP talk, by the way. He's saying that news pump gap has been filled. Yeah, he's talking about that SEC Ripple news from about 5 days back, when they officially dropped their appeals and filed that joint document with the court. Pretty big deal. So Dom saying XRP is basically chilling between some really important levels right now. Monthly all-time high VWAP and local VWAPs, all hanging out around that $3.20 area. He thinks we need 2 things to happen before we can make a real run at new highs. First up, we need to flip that all-time high VWAP, the green line on his chart, into support. Second, and this is the big one price-wise, we need to flip $3.33 into solid support territory. And here's what's crazy. How many analysts have I been showing you over the past couple days, all pointing to that exact $3.33 level? A bunch of them, all coming to pretty much the same conclusion on their own. I think one guy said $3.32, but come on, we're basically splitting hairs at that point. Pretty wild how they're all lining up like that, right? Look, take it however you want, but we're going to blast through that level eventually. Here's an XRP ETH chart from what looks like early May this year. All right, so check this out. Credible Crypto, who's basically a wizard with charts, dropped this gem last night, even though he originally called it months back. He's like, hey, Ethereum's been absolutely killing it lately, but guess what? XRP's turn might be coming up real soon. That downside target he mapped out for XRP ETH almost 3 months ago, boom, just got hit. This is me doing a little victory dance right now because I've been preaching this exact story for months. I was out there saying, look, people, don't flip out when Ethereum starts smoking XRP because that thing is trading for pennies on the dollar. When ETH was hanging around 1,400, you'd have to be blind not to see it was massively underpriced. Fast forward to today and bam, ETH rockets to $4,600. So much for all those annoyed Ethereum is toast hot takes, right? I was practically shouting from the rooftops months ago. Heads up, everyone, XRP is probably going to get roughed up against ETH for a while. And that's exactly the show we got. Credible saw the same movie playing out. He basically sketched out this whole scenario with his fancy chart squiggles, showing XRP taking a beating against ETH. And wouldn't you know it, reality followed his script almost perfectly. Look at this beauty. So that was his prediction, and here's reality serving it up on a silver platter. The whole thing played out like clockwork. Dude absolutely nailed it. Now, I'm not going to act like this was some mind-blowing revelation to me. Sure, he's the one with the precise targets and all that technical wizardry, but just seeing the big picture, come on, that wasn't exactly rocket science. You didn't need a PhD in chart reading to see Ethereum was due for a comeback tour. It was practically screaming, "I'm undervalued" from the rooftops. So now that we've arrived at his target, here's where it gets spicy. He's basically saying mission accomplished on the XRP/ETH chart, and since everything's connected in this crazy crypto web, get ready because XRP's about to go absolutely bonkers. His whole point is that it's XRP's turn to flip the script and start steamrolling Ethereum again on that pair. And honestly, XRP's already been treating Bitcoin and Ethereum like its personal punching bags this cycle, just demolishing them performance-wise. But we're not even close to being done here. By the time this whole party wraps up, it's going to be pretty awkward for all those XRP haters, you know, the Bitcoin and ETH diehards who can't see past their own bags. Don't get me wrong, they'll probably do fine, but XRP, it's going to make them look silly with how much it outperforms what they're holding. So chart analyst Dolly Martinez just dropped some news. He's calling it XRP is making its move. He's eyeing a $3.60 target, and get this, he's not talking about some distant future. We're talking short term here, maybe even within the next few days. Chart analyst CW is seeing some serious action on the XRP price chart. Looks like it's about to break out of this bull flag pattern any moment now. The rally's coming back, folks. Look, I'm going to fly through these updates because honestly, they're all painting the same picture. Every analyst out there is basically screaming the same thing. XRP is about to take off again. Take the legendary Matsby, for example. His take? Simple. As long as XRP holds above $3.21, we're golden for another breakout. We're sitting pretty above that level right now. His thinking is that if we don't crash through that floor, we're in that sweet spot where XRP could absolutely explode upward once more. Chart analyst Javon Marks just dropped this gem on XRP. We're talking fresh off the press here, like 2.5 hours ago fresh. He's looking at XRP's previous bull run and comparing it to what's happening right now, and honestly, they're looking scarily similar. His next target? A whopping $9.63. That's another 188% rocket ride from where we are now. And here's the kicker. He doesn't think it'll stop there either. The guy's thinking this is happening sooner rather than later, and we're getting dangerously close to double-digit territory for XRP. Look, here's my take. XRP running hard is pretty much inevitable at this point. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know exactly when it'll happen or how crazy high it'll go, but direction-wise, yeah, I'm totally in that camp. Absolutely. I'd honestly be shocked if this thing doesn't explode upward. The only way I see XRP not ripping higher is if we get hit with some total black swan event that just destroys everything. Not just XRP, but the whole market goes to pieces. Short of something like that happening, I'm thinking we're going to be pretty thrilled with how this plays out. And here's chart analyst Zoom chiming in too, says this XRP bull flag breakout is going to be absolutely magnificent. Another voice saying XRP's locked in this bull flag pattern and ready to break out way sooner than later. Crypto Michael just weighed in with some bold predictions. Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP are all about to smash new highs, and soon. Then he drops this line, the top isn't in until I say it is. Whoa there, Michael. Someone's feeling pretty confident. But hey, he's backing it up by saying we're just getting started here. Yep, looks like we're rolling into the final phase of this bull run, folks. Chart analyst Galaxy is looking at XRP on the BTC pair and says it's been consolidating in this range for a while now. When it finally breaks out of this, it's going to be massive. We're talking another huge impulse wave. And check this out. Look how long we've been stuck in this sideways action. What are we at now? A little over 6 months? That's exactly what happened in the last cycle and the one before that too. The pattern's pretty clear. You get one massive burst upward, then it chills sideways for about this amount of time, and then boom, another explosion. So timing-wise, everything's lining up perfectly if history's going to do its thing and roughly repeat itself. Altcoin Gordon just spotted something juicy. XRP absolutely crushed through this massive weekly trend line, and he's practically vibrating with excitement. His whole philosophy? We don't mess around with small potatoes. We're here for the monster moves. And yeah, I'm picking up what he's putting down. Honestly, I've been beating this drum so hard every day, I'm about to wear out my vocal cords. But Gordon's got me nodding like a bobblehead. When you zoom out and connect the dots, it's crystal clear. This rocket's about to launch, people. So chart analyst Greg Crypto just dropped some interesting insights on XRP. He's got his eye on this tight trading range we're stuck in right now. Here's what he's watching. If XRP closes above $3.30, that's our green light. We're talking serious bullish momentum. But if it dips below $3.13, that's when things could get ugly with some real downside pressure. Right now, he thinks XRP is just going to bounce around between those two levels like a ping pong ball until Bitcoin decides what it wants to do. And speaking of Bitcoin, wow, it's back kissing 120K today. Fingers crossed we finally break that all-time high, right? But here's the reality check. Greg gives us a 60% chance we just keep bouncing in this range. Only about 20% odds we break above and another 20% we crash below. So yeah, we're playing the waiting game for now. But here's the thing. Bitcoin's always been the one to kickstart these big moves, and this time won't be different. It's not a matter of if something's going to break us out of this sideways action. It's when. One morning you're going to wake up and boom, we're off to the races. Oh man. Everything else is lighting up like a Christmas tree, exactly the way you dream it would happen based on all those historical playbooks. This is absolutely electric. And the kicker, XRP is just casually hanging out above $3 before we even get to the crazy town phase. That's straight up bonkers. Picture this, we're literally parked in the same neighborhood where XRP threw its last epic party back in 2017, 2018. This is ground zero where it hit that legendary $3.35 peak. And now we're just vibing in that exact same area before the fireworks show where the real magic typically happens. I'm telling you, the writing's on the wall in neon letters. While nothing's ever a sure thing, the odds are screaming that XRP is gearing up to absolutely obliterate expectations. That's the show I'm here for, and honestly, I can feel it building. But hey, real talk here. I'm just some guy sharing thoughts, not your financial guru. Don't even think about making moves based on my rambling. That would be spectacularly terrible decision making.